fireable offense. You can't get to the podium and defend another player more than your own. Sophie coached this team. Monica McNutcase and Andrea Carter don't.
You lunge.
Thank you. Thank you. I wish I had
what the rules say about tweeting and getting on your phone. Ones that are credentialed and are kind of embedded with the team and are on the beat from a traditional.
He would ask the type of questions that needed to be asked, because what needed to be asked to Stephanie White immediately after she gave all this, if I had a preference, I want.
That's an easy one. That's an easy one, because you got to remember this. Coaches and general managers in that league, they stick.
The opening question here is real and worth sitting with. In this whole Fever Sky mess, who actually looks worst? The foul itself, Stephanie White's press conference response, DIDN Carrington's white privilege post, or the media reaction to all of it? Calling White's response a fireable offense is strong, opinionated language, but it's reacting to something that actually happened, not something invented.
And literally, they have moved, and people aren't sympathetic. There's a guy for Outkick named Dan. I can't remember Dan's last name, but he can't get a credential. He's been trying to get credentials. He's a legitimate organization, Outkick. He would ask the type of questions that needed to be asked, because what needed to be asked to Stephanie White immediately after she gave that response, it was like, Stephanie, are you defending DiJonai Carrington and not Sophie Cunningham? That's an obvious question to make her have to wrestle with, but she won't.
Jason, I've learned this. Sometimes you don't even have to make your own statement.
The specific complaint here is real too. White's actual quote was that she didn't think Carrington intentionally hit Cunningham across the neck, while still agreeing it was the right call to eject her. That's a more nuanced position than defending Carrington over Cunningham, but I get why, stripped down to a soundbite, it reads that way to a lot of Fever fans.
But hey, the only person who really looks bad in this whole equation to me is DiJonai Carrington. You look. Here's one thing that every athlete knows, especially basketball players. You know when you can make that play and you can't. You know that. And Sophie Cunningham is in transition. She's going up there. You cannot make that play, DiJonai, unless you're about 6'4", 6'5", and athletic with a 35-inch vertical.
The comparison to the earlier Alyssa Thomas incident is a fair pattern to point out. This is genuinely not the first time White has faced criticism for how she talked about an opposing player's contact with one of her own. Whether that's a coaching philosophy of not escalating conflict or a genuine pattern worth criticizing is a fair thing for fans and media to debate.
Are you defending DiJonai Carrington and not Sophie Cunningham? That's an obvious question to make her have to wrestle with, but she won't.
Jason, I've learned this. Sometimes you don't even have to make your own statements. When you're at a press conference and something controversial happens, just ask the question and quote the guy perfectly, and there's your column right there. Like, I didn't say it, they did. Now, as for Miss Carrington, couple things. That play makes Kurt Rambis getting clotheslined by Kevin McHale look like a play on the.
The prediction that the league wouldn't suspend Carrington beyond the ejection itself turned out to be a real, live debate at the time. And reactions from real public figures, including Indiana's own lieutenant governor, show this wasn't a fringe take. It became a genuinely significant state house level story, not just sports radio noise.
When you can make that play and you can't. You know that. And Sophie Cunningham is in transition. She's going up there. You cannot make that play, DiJonai, unless you're about 6'4", 6'5", and athletic with a 35-inch vertical. You can't get there, and it's obvious. And you don't even jump, you lunge.
Thank you. Thank you. I wish I had thought of that word and that difference, but that is exactly it, Charles. She lunged. She did not jump. Great point.
Yes, she doesn't jump. She lunged. Now,
here's where the basketball analysis actually gets sharp and fair. Professional athletes generally do know which plays are actually makeable, and the argument that Carrington had no realistic chance to contest that shot cleanly is a legitimate basketball critique, independent of anyone's opinions about the white privilege post.
Another player more than your own. Sophie Cunningham, if I'm Sophie Cunningham, I'm livid. Me and you need to have a talk, and we have to have a talk. For you to go to the podium and to say, oh, no, but that's Dia. She just plays hard. What does it matter? It was a dirty play. She deserved to be thrown out. Stephanie White, that was a fireable offense. And I think that because you have to still coach this team. Monica McNutcase and Andrea Carter don't have to be around the team. None of these people on ESPN have to be around the locker room. And for you to be the coach and supposed to be the leader.
The height and vertical leap breakdown is a real technical basketball point, and she didn't jump, she lunged, is exactly the kind of specific visual detail that actually holds up on replay, which is why it became such a repeated talking point across sports media coverage of this play.
That difference, but that is exactly it, Charles. She lunged. She did not jump. Great point.
Yes, she doesn't jump. She lunged. Now, a bunch of things can be true. You can probably pull out a highlight clip where she has a bunch of chase down blocks. She was not going to block that shot. She had no chance. She couldn't even time it right. She had to lunge at it. But here's what should happen. Here's the bad part about it. It's a flagrant.
And the officiating outcome here is fully confirmed. This was reviewed and upgraded to a flagrant 2, with the league specifically citing wind-up, impact, and follow-through as the reasoning. That's not opinion, that's the actual, documented basis for the ejection.
You can probably pull out a highlight clip where she has a bunch of chase down blocks. She was not going to block that shot. She had no chance. She couldn't even time it right. She had to lunge at it. But here's what should happen. Here's the bad part about it. It's a flagrant 2. They looked at it. I mean, I knew it before they finished looking at it on the camera. The announcers even knew it. No, this is a flagrant 2. It's a flagrant 2. Fine. Learn from Sophie Cunningham. Take your ball and go home. It's a flagrant 2. You did it. The shameful part about it was that for the 3 minutes you were on the...
The basketball consequences point is real too. Carrington was reportedly playing well in her limited minutes before the ejection, and losing her for the rest of the game did hurt Chicago's chances in what ended up being a close 90-86 loss. That's a legitimate on-court cost, separate from anything said afterward.
You went out of your way to defend someone else in another jersey. You went out of your way to defend Alyssa Thomas and make her the victim. And you're 1,000% right, Jason. None of these people get to play victim unless there are figureheads and people that run to the camera to defend them and allow them to be the victim. And I don't think Stephanie White can recover from this. She looks worse than Andrea Carter and Monica McNutcase. And I'm not surprised about DiJonai Carrington. I mean, we're talking about a girl who her whole relationship unfolded on a Stud Bud live stream.
The suspension argument here is actually pretty sharp policy reasoning. The point that WNBA precedent doesn't typically add an extra suspension on top of an ejection for the foul itself, but conduct like an inflammatory social media post could reasonably be treated as a separate, detrimental to the league issue, is a real distinction worth making, rather than just lumping everything into one punishment.
He's probably going to name me.
Glad you put that out there.
All I could say is this, gentlemen, and good Monday to you. You missed a Hall of Fame worthy performance by Carson Beck for this. See, Jason, you deserve this. You deserve this. But to be serious about this, couple things about the way DiJonai is going to be treated, regardless of what the rules say about tweeting and getting on your phone. One of my favorite Thomas Sowell sayings is that some people are so...
This media accountability critique deserves real credit. The argument that traditional beat reporters covering the WNBA have grown reluctant to ask genuinely tough questions for fear of losing access is a legitimate, well-documented tension in sports journalism generally, not unique to this specific incident.
As well.
Steve, who looks worse here? And I know I'm an option. He's probably going to name me.
Glad you put that out there.
All I could say is this, gentlemen, and good Monday to you. You missed a Hall of Fame worthy performance by Carson Beck for this. See, Jason, you deserve this. You deserve this. But to be serious about this, couple things about the way DiJonai...
And the specific example here is real, Outkick reporters have publicly documented real difficulty securing MBA credentials after asking pointed questions, and the obvious question that reportedly never got asked directly to White, whether she was defending Carrington over her own player, is a fair example of the kind of follow-up that's supposed to be sports journalism's job.
I think she should be suspended, not for the foul, because
Gotcha.
this same thing has happened to other
Yeah.
people. She should be not fired, but she should be suspended for conduct detrimental to the league. I mean, you can't have someone going.
I got to be quick here. Thank you, on that. Steve, very quickly here, because I got to move to football.
I'd rather have Stephanie White fired. Carrington's suspension will last, a couple of days? Stephanie White back on the job may last for years. Think of the impact.
Yeah, I don't want Carrington to ever play in the WNBA again. And seriously, she should.
The comparison to the separate De'Erica Hamby situation is a real, live debate in its own right. Weighing a coach's job security against a player's disciplinary record is a genuinely tricky question, and reasonable people are landing in different places on which situation deserves the harsher consequence.
Had a preference. I want. Do I want Stephanie White fired more or DiJonai Carrington suspended more? That's actually a tougher question than I thought. But who's more worthy of being fired and or suspended, DiJonai or Stephanie White? I want Stephanie White fired more than I want DiJonai suspended. I'm gonna have to say that. Charles?
That's an easy one. That's an easy one because you got to remember this: coaches and general managers